What's up everyone, King Crab's back again today, and today we're tackling some Mono Dark, which has, in my opinion, always been a pretty good type to Monotype. It has really good balance of defensive and offensive tools. By its nature, Dark type are quite strong. It has pretty good matchups, being not very effective on not many types, and having no immunities. I think Dark is just generally quite good and has a lot of tricks up their sleeves. So with that, let's jump right into the team and discuss what we're using today. So first up we have Greninja. And Greninja is going to be a Choice Specs Protein Greninja, and the reason for this is its adaptability. It really allows it to change type on the fly and really take care of so many types. With Hydro Pump, it can become a pure water type, which it is already, but it removes its dark weaknesses, which can be quite nice against maybe things like fighting types or bug types. And in general, Hydro Pump is just going to be very strong coming off a stab with Choice Specs. Ice Beam is really good for taking care of flying teams and dragon teams, which can be quite common on the NatDex ladders, so, and that in general, Ice is a very, very strong offensive type. I ran Water Shuriken. This is quite uncommon for Greninja. I feel like Greninja often wants to run Gunk Shot for fairies, or potentially U-turn to grab momentum, but I found like my team lacked a bit of immediate speed control, so I wanted Water Shuriken to try and have some form of priority. And finally, we have Extra Sensory, which is really good for the fighting types in the tier. As well as that, it also changes my type to Psychic, meaning I'll take not very effective damage from those fighting types, which is very, very good. So, stat spread wise, we are max special attack, max speed with a timid nature, and the reason for that is I just value outspeeding Pokemon that are 350 or above, and just in general, Greninja's speed tier is really good, so we want to make the most of that. Its special attack isn't amazing, but it's patched up by Choice Specs. Its bulk is pretty bad, but thankfully we do have support from the likes of Grimmsnarl, which I'll discuss shortly. Next up we have Galarian Moltres, and Galarian Moltres is a seriously snowballing Pokemon. If this thing starts to set up, it can be overwhelmingly powerful for so many teams to take care of. I think it's just a very, very strong Pokemon. Its stats are naturally bulky enough with 1990-125 spread, being really, really good. With 100 special attack and 90 speed, not looking honestly terribly amazing. It looks kind of average, and you can see that here reflected in our 252 plus modest nature. Only 328 special attack isn't amazing, and 279 speed is nothing to write home about. But let me explain to you why Galarian Moltres is so strong. Its ability Berserk activates when your opponent's attack drops you below half HP, you get +1 special attack, which is pretty nice because that's essentially giving us Choice Specs damage. But on top of that, we also have Nasty Plot to boost my special attack even further. So this thing can easily skyrocket to +1000 special attack in no time. And to patch up its kind of weak speed, we have Agility, which makes this thing relatively speedy, being able to outspeed most Choice Scarf users. And after 2 Agilities, I believe can outspeed the entirety of the tier, including things like Swift Swim Barraskewda. Finally, for attacks, we have Air Slash and Fiery Wrath. Both of these have a decent chance to flinch with 30 and 20% respectively. They're also both stab, and Flying and Dark are a really nice combination of stabs because there's very few things in the tier that resist both of these. And then finally, we have Leftovers of Longevity, and as well as that, it's kind of mediocre defenses. Actually, it's decent defenses. I'm going to say decent defenses are bolstered further by Grimmsnarl. So Grimmsnarl is going to be supportive. I made it shiny just because I think its shiny is really, really cool. That's literally it. And we have Light Clay to further extend my Reflect and Light Screen. Thanks to Prankster, we can get these off despite the fact I have really bad defense. I have really bad speed, my apologies. It does not matter because Prankster gives Reflect and Light Screen +1 priority. We also have T-Wave to be able to support the team by giving speed control, by potentially having opponent speeds with priority T-Wave. And finally Spirit Break, which is again more nice team support because it has a 100% chance to lower target special attack by 1 stage, which is pretty good because it helps my team be more specially bulky, especially with Reflect and Light Screen. This is really good. And stat wise, we're max special defense, max HP. Just because I do have some defensive Pokemon like Mandibuzz and Bisharp, I think I needed a bit more of a specially defensive backbone, so I figured Grimmsnarl would be the one for that. So next up, we have Physically Defensive Mandibuzz, and this thing is really, really good with 110, 105 defenses. It's very bulky. Thanks to its flying typing, it can easily eat attacks from bug types. It can eat attacks from fighting types with relative ease. It can, of course, eat ground types like Earthquake, Earth Power, not a problem to Mandibuzz. We have U-Turn to grab momentum, and unfortunately this is going to be its only form of damaging outside of Toxic. I wanted to try and fit in Foul Play, though I do think Defog is so important on this team, because other than that my team is quite weak to Stealth Rocks. Things like Moltres don't appreciate Stealth Rocks. Spikes kind of hurt things like Greninja, Alolan Muk, Bisharp. I don't mind Sticky Webs too much because my fastest Pokemon, Moltres, is a flyer, so isn't affected. Mandibuzz isn't affected. Bisharp is slow anyway and does get boosted by Defiance, so it's not the end of the world. We do have Toxic to slowly chip away important threats, maybe like Porygon 2, other defensive Pokemon that I can't think of off the top of my head, Landorus I suppose. Any defensive Pokemon that I want to chip away slowly, Roost is a good option. It also puts my opponent on a timer, meaning I can potentially set up things with like Moltres or Muk, which can be quite nice. And finally we have Roost for longevity, and this just makes this thing live really long, because other than that, I don't want to run leftovers, as we're running heavy duty boots to infinitely swap in on Stealth Rocks, so Roost is just very nice to stall out things like close combat, maybe to get them weakened to lower a couple of stages and then swap into a faster Pokemon like potentially Greninja or Sucker Punch Bisharp for example. Next up we have Muk, and Muk is part poison typing, makes this really really good because it takes neutral damage from fighting, a bug and fairy, which is kind of crazy because that's all three of Darkness's weaknesses, which is really nice. We have Poison Touch. I decided Poison Touch over Gluttony because I'm not running berries. I decided to run Black Sludge, and with Poison Jam I think it's a 52% chance to poison if I Poison Jab my opponent, which is pretty good. Black Sludge offers recovery, and if my opponent tries to trick me, they will take 1/8 of their HP every turn if they're not poison type, which is quite nice. Curse is nice to increase my defense because it's kind of lackluster, as well as increasing my attack and lowering my speed. My speed does not matter at all. This Pokemon is so slow. Honestly, it's not going to be outspeeding many threats anyway, and even in a pinch, it can become really fast against Trick Room teams, which are rare, but it could happen. We have Knockoff, which is generally a very strong stab. Definitely a little weaker in NatDex because of the huge amount of Z Crystals and Mega Stones, so it's only going to be 65 base some of the time, but other than that, it is 1.5 times and stab, so it's going to be quite strong. And Fire Punch is just generally there for steel types like Ferrothorn and Scizor, which can give my team trouble, especially Mega Scizor, because Knockoff isn't going to be doing too much damage, so Fire Punch is quite nice for that. And last but not least, we have Bisharp. Bisharp is going to be max HP, max attack, adamant nature. Sometimes people like to run speed. I decided to run a bit of a bulky Bisharp with leftovers, and the reason for that is behind screens, this thing becomes quite bulky, and thanks to its steel typing, it also takes a neutral damage from things that are bug or fairy types, which is quite nice. We have Swords Dance to further increase my attack, especially after a Defiant boost. This can become scarily strong very fast, especially on things like Sticky Web, Iron Head, Mystical Fire, anything like that. Bisharp can generally live, especially thanks to screens and just get Defiant boosts. Iron Head is generally very strong against fairies, which give my team a lot of trouble, so I do value that, as well as being able to flinch opponents in a pinch, which is quite good. Sucker Punch is there because my speed is quite low, but I can potentially set up Swords Dance in my opponent's face and force them to attack. It can often come down to mind games, which is unfortunate. I'm not the best at Sucker Punch mind games, but it's something important to learn when you're playing Mono Dark. And finally we have Stealth Rock. Normally I'd run something like Knockoff here, but I have Knockoff and Muk, and I think my team does value breaking Sashes and Sturdy for things like Moltres, Greninja to absolutely tear through the team. So that is going to be the team for today. Before I jump into a game, I want to ask you, who is your favorite Dark type Pokemon? For me, I have to say, I think my favorite Dark type, it's tough, but I'm going to give it to Tyranitar. I think it's a very cool Pokemon. It's like a giant, destructive rock thing. It's very cool. And with that, we're going to pause and be right back. So we have a game against Mono Flying. In this game, Zapdos is definitely a huge threat to me, as well as Thundurus, because it probably does run Focus Blast, so I have to be careful of that. I would guess they're Mega Charizard, but they also could be Mega Aerodactyl. Personally, I'm for Aerodactyl, but I mean Charizard isn't that good in base form, so that's probably a Mega. We do value Stealth Rocks a lot here. I also value Mandibuzz very much against things like Zapdos. Grimmsnarl's screens are good, and I think if we set up my Moltres, we're in a good position. However, we're going to open up Greninja, turn 1. They go Aerodactyl. I'm going to risk a Water Shuriken. I don't think it KOs, but there shouldn't be much they can do to KO me back in one hit go. It is Specs though, so maybe if it hits 5 times. I don't even know if Water Shuriken can hit 5 times. Ooh, that's strong. 4 hits. 4 hits. Excellent. Usually goes first, hits 2 to 5 times. Okay, so it can hit 5 times. And that's actually really, really, really good for me. Taking care of Aerodactyl early means I deny them rocks. I feel like Mandibuzz. I was going to go into on Zapdos, we'll go into Mandibuzz. That is banded. That is banded. Good to know. Will you turn? As they decide to stay in. That's okay with me. I feel like I can take in Greninja here and click Ice Beam and kind of just get a KO. I could risk Hydro Pump. Hydro Pump also gets me a KO in this position, I feel, but it's a little bit riskier. Let's try it. And the reason I like Hydro Pump a bit more over Ice Beam is because it does catch something like Celesteela coming in and Charizard. So these two things should die to 2 specs. Well, they should die to 2 specs. This gets 1 hit KO'd. This gets 1 hit KO'd. Nice. So we get the Zapdos, which was a big threat to my team, so I'm more than happy for that. They're going to Mega Evolve and get the Sun up, I think. So what I'm going to do here is go into my Muk, who's quite specially defensive. And they're going to go for a Solar Beam, I'd imagine. It won't do anything. We probably drop to a Fire Blast, but if I can get a Poison Jab off, Poison anything, like we get Poison Touch and Jab, which is a nice combination. Excellent. Do I value Muk? I mean, it's always a nice enough swap into Charizard or maybe Thundurus, so I think I do value Muk, and I guess I don't really value Bisharp too much in this position, so we're going to sack it. As they actually go for Rock Slide. That is surprising. Just in case they read a Sucker Punch, I'm going to try to get Rocks down. It's okay, I'm okay with the Earth Power. I feel like Moltres is really, really, really good in this position. We're taking Grimmsnarl. And we'll get my Light Screen and my Reflect up. Sludge Wave, okay. Honestly, if you can KO me, that's honestly ideal. It saves me having to swap into something like Moltres, and right now I can just Agility up, I think. They might Rock Slide. I don't think it puts me in range of Berserk, but it would be nice if it did. It doesn't, unfortunately. The question is, do we live an attack from Thundurus? I feel like we do. Celesteela comes in. I'm going to Plosh turn 1. There's no way this can win a KO me. If their Leech Seed is quite annoying. Nope, they are Autotomaz. Does this KO? It does not, thanks to my screens. Screens Moltres is actually so insanely strong. So I think here we just click Fiery Wrath, and that should be the game. Even if this is Choice Scarf, the only thing it could be potentially, I suppose, is a Focus Sash. But even then, it's quite hard for them to not get flinched, and then I have like Greninja with priority, so I think this game is definitely looking in my favour. In fact, my opponent... Okay, they go for Charizard. I'm almost certain this dies to Fiery Wrath. Moltres, as I said, is just so stupidly good. And with that, we're going to pause and be right back. GG to my opponent. So we have a game against Mono Dragon. This game is honestly pretty threatening because things like Komodo are like stupid strong against me. I do value Grimmsnarl and Moltres here. Honestly, I value Greninja a lot too. So much to the extent I think I'm going to open up with it and just try Ice Beam turn 1. They're probably Sash lead Garchomp. I'd be surprised they led with Garchomp otherwise. The question is, do I value my Greninja? I feel like I want to damage this turn 1. Now, unfortunately, my team is kind of slow, so I think I value Grimmsnarl. And Grimmsnarl can definitely block things like Komodo's Clangorous Soul Blaze. Oh, they're not Sash. Okay. That's crazy. I mean, it's really good to get a pick like that turn 1. It's quite beneficial for me. They go into Komodo. I don't really think you live in Ice Beam. This is Specs Protein. You'd probably die too. I mean, it is Mega, so maybe it just about survives. Nope, this is Specs. This is surely Choice Scarfed. We'll go into Muk. Unfortunately, I'm not Rain Pursuit, though Knockoff here is still really, really good. Especially if we get the Poison. We don't, we can just jab here. Poison, excellent. So this puts me in a fantastic position. So what I'm going to do is actually go into Mandibuzz and potentially an Earthquake coming out. As they go for Outrage, That's fine. We do die. However, they died to Poison Chip as well, which is super good. And this position, I feel like Bisharp is really strong against the Latis. I mean, my whole team is pretty strong against the Latis. We're going to go into... we're going to go into Grimmsnarl. And the reason for that is I think this is going to be Mega. And I want to T-Wave it, and I don't want this getting out of hand by commanding up too much and potentially seeing my team with something like Aura Sphere. So if it is slowered, if it's slowed, I don't know why I said slowered, it's quite good for me. We'll set up a light screen and just start Spirit Breaking here. I don't really see a way my opponent can possibly beat 5 Dark types with just the Lati Twins. Especially because Spirit Break does so much damage. And we're just going to simply T-Wave Latias too. Nice. Ooh, they go for the trick. Really interesting. That's okay, I'm happy to be tricked to Spirit Break, especially because I do actually outspeed now. GG. And with that, we're going to pause and be right back. So we have a game against Mono Fighting, which is going to be really, really scary for my team. Komodo is quite scary. I don't like Breloom spamming Spore either. I think we're actually going to open up a Mandibuzz, which is kind of strange because she's one of my best tools. We're going to try on this. I don't have a huge answer to Cobalion. However, I do think I actually have 4 Pokemon who take neutral damage to fighting, so it's not the worst case scenario. I think if I manage to set up my screens with Grimmsnarl, I'm actually in a pretty decent position, so that's definitely going to be the aim right now. We're going to curse up a bit with my Muk. I don't think Cobalion can do too much damage to me. I hope anyway. Ooh, their taunt. Interesting. Very interesting. We're going to knock their... Oh, I shouldn't have knocked actually, because that gives them justified. That was a very bad play on my part. My rationale for knocking is I didn't want them to have Rocky Helmet. But I just realized that was kind of a stupid play. However, if I do set up my Moltres, I can just win by Moltres being disgustingly good alone, which is pretty nice for me. No problem. I made a bad play there, so I can't blame anyone else. Let's defog away these rocks. Oh, they're going to taunt me. That makes sense. It doesn't seem like they can do too much to the likes of Bisharp. Now, they probably are going to taunt. I'm going to try get my rocks down just in case they choose to T-Wave me instead, which they do. And I kind of value just that small bit of chip I can do to my opponent. Let's try Swords Dance up, and they're going to taunt me this turn, I imagine. So we'll go straight for an Iron Head. Actually, I lose basically nothing by Swords Dancing again. They go into Keldeo. Interesting. I kind of have to sucker here as I value damage, and that crit is super good. I don't care too much about the Justified, it does not bother me. I think Choice Scarf, I feel like Extrasensory is also actually really, really good in this position. Assuming they are Choice Scarf. They are Choice Scarf. In that case, we're going to have to take out my Grimmsnarl, set up my screens, and I think the best I can do here is potentially just go for game with my Moltres. Which is going to be easier said than done. Do I value Reflect? I think I do. I think I do value Reflect. I can't be T-Waved. I feel if I get T-Waved here, I lose the game. The rocks do help. It breaks Sash on Breloom in case it is Sash Breloom. Keldeo comes back in. We're going to Agility once. Scald. Ooh, interesting. Did I manage to come back? Terrakion's going to be an issue. But hey, if they want to put me in range of my Berserk, I'm more than okay with that. Now I have to play carefully, because Breloom's Mach Punch could actually be quite scary. Terrakion comes, I don't think you eat an Air Slash. This thing is stupid strong. And as long as my Reflect remains up, I won't die to Mach Punch. Oh, I wouldn't have died anyway, as it turns out. Nice. So why my screen, my Reflect was so important there was, I wanted to be able to survive the Breloom as long as possible. Please don't miss. Excellent. I think it all comes down to this. Honestly, I don't see a reason why I shouldn't click Fire Fiery Wrath here. I know it's not super effective, but let's just give a quick check. What's his name? Gallade. We're assuming it's a Mega Gallade at +6. Fiery Wrath, 1-hit KO is easy. I'm not about to miss with my 95% accuracy. GG. So that was a pretty close game. I think Moltres did stupidly well here. The screen's Grimmsnarl was very good, and I managed to time those reflects nicely to just about live something like Mach Punch. And with that, we're going to pause and be right back. So we have a game here against Mono Fire. Cinderace, I could have sworn Cinderace is banned in the NatDex, but I guess I'm wrong. Infernape too can be a bit of a threat, as well as Volcarona, so I do have to play this one kind of carefully, and I think I honestly value Muk turn 1, just to try and spread poisons. It can eat attacks from Infernape pretty nicely. We'll go for Poison Jab here. Oh, hello. That is mighty scary. We get the poison, and if they go for close combat, I think I survive. If they go for a Flare Blitz, they should die to recoil. Oh, they're Fire Punch, and that kills anyway. That is strong. They are Life Orb, Iron Fist, that does make sense. They don't really have any swap into Greninja, and because they're probably Mach Punch, I don't want to go into something that can just fall to a Mach Punch. I guess depending on what Zard it is, makes a huge difference to my team. They go into Ace. I'm going to Shuriken this too. Nice. Unfortunately, we only get 2 hits. In this position, I could Shuriken again. It's not going to be super effective, so I'm going to have to rely on it hitting more times. So I do definitely value my Greninja alive. So I'm going to go into Mandibuzz here. We'll throw a Toxic down. I could U-turn. Getting the Toxic on Volcarona is excellent for me. So now we U-turn. I don't think Volcarona can do anything to one-shot me. It Quiver Dances. We're going to go into Grimmsnarl here and just get my screens up. Which can potentially let me set up my Moltres afterwards, which is super good for me. Okay, you want to keep setting up? That's fine by me. I feel I can always threaten this with Bisharp. Ooh, they get the crit, which really hurts. I think I value my Grimmsnarl. Honestly, I feel like Mandibuzz is expendable here. As we survive anyway, and they die to Toxic, which is pretty good for me. The reason I value Grimmsnarl still alive is I might want to set up screens again, especially in the face of Charizard, because we don't know what Charizard this is. We're going to Toxic it. I think it's Y. The Sun one, is that Y? Oh, it's X. And Flare Blitz does no kind of damage. We get our Toxic off, which is super good for me. That puts this thing on a timer. I'm actually going to... I don't have Foul Play. I forgot to put a Foul Play on this thing. So what we're going to do is go into Bisharp here. I'm going to try get his cheeky Stealth Rocks down. If they KO me, that's fine. I can always go into Greninja. As we actually survive thanks to screens. And between Toxic and Recoil, this thing is taking some serious damage. And now we can spam Sucker. Ace probably comes in. Actually, if Ace comes in and clicks Court Change, that's really bad for me. Are they going to Court Change? Nope, they go for Sucker Punch. That is not going to do any kind of damage. And Iron Head will pick a KO here. The question is, do I value this to be able to Sucker Punch the Blacephalon in the last turn? They're going for a trick. They are 100% going for a trick. So we're going to go into Greninja here. Grimmsnarl, sorry. Oh, they actually just straight up went for a Flamethrower. Are they Choice Scarf? I feel like I value Greninja. I'm pretty sure... No, wait, this kills, surely. Blacephalon. Water Shuriken. With 3 hits, it's a 75% chance of Oko. I like those odds. Honestly, those odds look pretty nice to me. Just don't hit twice. Please don't hit twice. Nice. We got the 3 hits. Heatran can probably, well, not probably, can easily survive. Just in case it's Choice Scarf or Eruption, I'm going to go for Shuriken here. Just to get some chip damage on it. That did some pretty good damage, actually. As they flash cannon. Okay. I believe Moltres should win this game. We're just going to click Fire Wrath twice. If they Magma Storm me, they might put me in range of my Berserk, which is really good. Yes, they do. So assuming they're not like Protect, and they get a few Protects in a row, I think Moltres should win the game here. That was honestly a very, very tough game. GG. Very tough game. That Infernape caught me by surprise in the early game, but we managed to pull through in the end. And with that, we're going to pause and be right back. So we have another game against Mono Fighting, which seems to be an oddly popular type on the ladder today for some reason. I don't usually see this too often. I think again our win con is definitely going to be Moltres. This thing is super important in the endgame, especially with Grimmsnarl's support with screens. Muk is pretty nice too. We'll open up Greninja. I want to go for an extra sensory, but I feel they're going their Choice Scarf. We'll sack Bisharp. They were Stealth Rocks in the end. I unfortunately chickened out. Here we can just defog away their rocks. They're probably Sash Lead if anything. As their Taunt. Okay, we have to U-turn out. That's okay, a slow U-turn is actually good here because we break their Sash. We can go into Greninja, and now we click Extra Sensory. I probably should have clicked the turn 1, but I did not have the courage to do so. Urshifu Rapid Strike comes in. This is Choice Scarf, surely. It has to be. There's no way you take this in otherwise. We'll go Mandibuzz and scout the damage. Yeah, that's Choice Scarf U-turn. For sure. I can actually get a Toxic off on pretty much anything coming in, which is pretty good for me. Alternatively, I can defog away these rocks, which is really good for Moltres in the endgame. I still think I value Muk a lot here. Komodo is a massive threat. I'm going to Toxic. They probably go for Clangorous Soul Blaze or whatever it's called. And putting this on a timer and then going into Grimmsnarl to set up screens should open up my Moltres. Does this KO? I feel like it doesn't. Yeah, nice. Unfortunately, we won't get an opportunity to get rid of the rocks, which does kind of suck. What was their Boom Burst? That is scary. We'll go Grimmsnarl here. Set up our screen. And then I feel like Moltres is pretty decent in the end game. That did nothing. That was so weak. We'll Reflect as well. And I think I actually value my Grimmsnarl being alive, so I can reset my screens later in the game. So what I'm going to do here is go into Muk. Ooh, they go for Focus Miss. We'll Curse once. I mean, it does absolutely invite in the likes of Urshifu to click Surging Strikes. But I think on that we can get in Greninja and potentially get a KO with Extra Sensory, which is pretty nice. And my screens still have plenty of turns left. So the only thing I feel they can kill me with right now is probably Urshifu. They could also go into Breloom and try Spore me. That's potentially a good play too. Actually potentially a lethal play. Because they could easily Swords Dance up and start Mach punching my team to death. That is quite scary actually when I put it that way. Though potentially Muk with +1 defense behind screens can probably live. Okay, they go into Urshifu. That was definitely the best play. That thing was a huge threat and they need to take care of it. I don't think Surgeon Strikes is going to kill Greninja. Urshifu, Choice Scarf. That's Wicked Blow. Urshifu. Where are you? Choice Band. Chipped Pot. Surging Strikes. No, that does not KO. And does my Extra Sensory KO? Absolutely it does. So we're simply going to click Extra Sensory here. Which as far as I know should pick up a KO. Again, Focus Sash Breloom is kind of a threat. We should live a Shadow Sneak from Gallade, thanks to our screens. This endgame looks difficult, but definitely possible. I do wish I didn't have such a bad opening turn sacking the Bisharp. I was just so scared of what they were going to do to me. And perhaps I should have called the Komodo Z move. Oh, nice. It's not Focus Sash. So that KO is really good for me. Searching Strikes is KOs? It said it. Oh, it's because I'm Psychic type, of course. Oh, that was a really, really stupid play on my part. We're taking Grim and T-Wave this. Because unfortunately we do die here. So this endgame is looking kind of shaky. I think I have to go for an Air Slash. We miss, and they get the Surging off. That's really unfortunate because I could have potentially agility'd if I thought I'd live Surging. No, I think this game's over. Unfortunate. I definitely made some misplays in the early game. They just click Shadow Snake here, and or just even anything and win the game. GG. Well played, my opponent. I did make some misplays, unfortunately. Is a hard matchup. I definitely could have won it, but hey, we take these losses and we learn from them. And with that, we're going to pause and be right back. So we have a game against Mono Bug, and or maybe we don't. I just want to say this game is really threatening. Ribombee is extremely scary. Volcarona can be too, especially if it sets up. Okay, my opponent's back. I definitely value Moltres so much in this game. I think Bisharp is honestly pretty good too. We're going to lead with Bisharp and try to get rocks down as early as possible. As they go Scizor. I will just, again, try to get my rocks down here, if possible. I honestly don't really have an answer to SD Scizor, which is kind of scary. Will SD myself. Perhaps Sucker Punch can do some decent damage here. Oof, that did nothing. And they actually outspeed me, which really sucks. So honestly, that thing is mega scary. Fire Punch probably won't even KO. The question is, will Bullet Punch? No, it does not, thankfully. But that is a bulky Scizor, if I've ever seen one. We Fire Punch again here in case they roost. If they Bullet Punch and KO, that's okay, because Greninja can come in here. The question is, do I value Water Shuriken? I think I do. I want damage off at this position. We'll go in Mandibuzz. So the best thing I could potentially do here, their Magic Coat. Very good play on my opponent's part. Again, the best position here, I think, is setting up Moltres and going for the end game that way. We'll T-Wave. They're probably toxic. That's their Defog. Okay. As expected, they're toxic, which is fine by me. Scizor comes in. This gets me my Moltres out. We're going to Agility once. Vespiquen. I feel like if I plot here, I might be able to just Air Slash for game. I am unfortunately on a timer. But nothing on their team likes eating Air Slash. At all. I don't think you eat a Fiery Wrath. That did no kind of damage. This kind of opens up potentially Greninja in the endgame, which is really good. I don't like being on a timer. But I still have 2 more turns, 2 more KOs. Pretty good. 1 more KO. The question is, who's it going to be? Either way, I can set up like a light screen in their face. Nice. So we're going to go into Grimmsnarl here. Do I value light screen? I think I do. They're Quiver Dance, which is very scary, so we're going to T-Wave this. Maybe I should have T-Wave turn 1. But Spirit Break should actually do a decent chunk of damage. That was decently strong. They're Draining Kiss. And of course they ignored thanks to Shield Dust. I think I have to either hope for some paras or some crit here. It's not looking good for me, unfortunately. We get the paralysis, but that's not going to do enough damage. Unfortunate. Oh, we got the full paralysis twice when we needed it, so Greninja came in so clutch there. GG to my opponent. They played really well. And with that, we're going to pause and be right back. So we have another game against Mono Fighting. This might as well just be Mono Dark fights Mono Fighting, the live. Again, in this position, we really value Moltres. It's so stupidly good against their team, especially if I can set up screens with Grimmsnarl. Now, unfortunately, they're probably going to open up Cobalion, and Cobalion is a bit of an issue, so we're going to try open up a Muk. On the off chance they don't taunt me turn 1, a Curse is really, really good here, because then my Fire Punch starts to do some decent damage. Nice. Are they Rocky Helmet? They are indeed. That's okay with me though. I do value KO in a Cobalion. Please don't flinch. Nice. So that's a pretty good thing to take care of, mainly because that thing interrupts my team so much. This can be scary, but honestly, I think I just value going for a Poison Jab. Part of me wanted to go into Grimmsnarl on the Clangor Soul Blaze, and maybe I should have done that. No problem. It happens. Really unfortunate. So they are Drain Punch, which is kind of what I was fearing it to be. We're going to have to go Grimmsnarl here. I think we set up a Reflect turn 1, or no, a Light Screen just in case they're Flash Cannon, which I feel like they often are. They're Boom Burst. Okay, that does no kind of damage. And then a Reflect. Into a T-Wave, I think? Or do we just go straight for a Spirit Break? I don't know if Spirit Break KOs. Let's find out. It doesn't. That thing is quite bulky. I'm going to T-Wave here. And the reason for that is, I actually don't think I mind if they KO my Grimmsnarl in this position, because I can take in my Moltres and just start setting up agilities. There's not much they can do to damage me. Drain Punch is probably their best bet, and even still they run the risk of being fully parried, also putting me into Berserk range. They go for Clangor Scales, does no kind of damage. We're going to plot up once, I think. Just to ensure we KO something like Terrakion. And now we still have 2 turns of screens. I will start KOing them. And the reason why I value having these screen turns is, again, it stops me from losing to something like Breloom. Of course, Breloom could be Sash. It often is, and that's quite scary. But on a team like Fighting, where they generally don't have too much hazard control, I think Sash is kind of dangerous to run unless you open up with it. So they might be Life Orb. The biggest threat in this position is probably Terrakion. I don't think it lives Air Slash. Nice, it doesn't. Moltres proving crazy good as usual. They're going to probably go for... Oh, it's Sash. It was Sash on this team. They go for a Spore, which is kind of bad for me. We'll go into Mandibuzz, and I think I'm going to U-turn just to get the KO here. Unfortunately, Gallade is pretty scary for me in the end game. I'll go Greninja. If they take in Keldeo, we're going to risk an extra sensory, but I think this is Choice Scarf. Yeah, this is Choice Scarf. Very, very unfortunate. I think we just lose to this, if I'm being honest. I don't see a way Moltres can potentially live. No, that's GG. Well played on my opponent's part. Pretty close game overall. How could I have played better? I probably should have just swapped into Grimmsnarl on the Komodo. Oh, hello, we lived. That was unexpected. Oh, it lived. I really didn't think that would live. We'll Toxic this. Unfortunately, I'm still definitely on a timer. Close Combat doesn't KO, but it puts me in range of Keldeo's Secret Sword, unfortunately. GG. I died to Sacred Sword. And with that, we're going to pause and be right back. So we have a game against Mono Bug. This game looks pretty tough. Things like Caesar, Volcarona, especially Buzzwole, are definitely threats to my team. As usual, I love Moltres in this game. It's kind of really, really good. I think I value Muk a decent bit too. In fact, we're going to open up with Muk as they go Caesar. This is quite good for me. If they let me take a Fire Punch turn 1, I very much value that. Yes, perfect. Nice. They could easily go to Araquanid. I'm going to risk a knockoff as they dueling beat. We're going to go Greninja and click... I want to click Water Shuriken, but Pump is probably the better play. Realistically speaking, they probably take in Araquanid here, so we're going to Pump. And I miss. That is very bad for me. In fact, I think that costs me the game. If I'm being honest. I should have gone with my gut. I should have gone for Aqua Shuriken. Water Shuriken. We can do it now. Honestly, Pump probably never was realistically the play because it does run the risk of missing. Though based on that damage, yeah, I think 2 hits would have killed anyway, regardless. Arachnid comes in. We're going to sack Mandibuzz to this. If they go for Sticky Web, that's fine. We can try Toxic here. Hopefully they don't go for a Magic Bounce. Nice. Oh, they're Lumberry. Okay. That's a really cool set. I don't know if they can realistically do Toxic. Please don't miss. Please don't do this to me. I'm going to Roost. Just once, because I don't think there's anything they can particularly do to one-hit KO Mandibuzz, besides maybe throwing a Toxic my way. Which is exactly what they do. That's okay, because we get a Toxic off here too. And I think they're definitely Rest. So I feel like Bisharp is the play right now. If they Liquidate and they drop my defense, I get my Defiant boost, which I got. Excellent for me. Part of me wants to Stealth Rock here, but I think I'll Sucker Punch. That did nothing. Ouch. So I'm almost certain they're going to be Rest. Moltres will get Toxic here, but in case they decide to Rest this turn, which would be crazy, I think they should always Toxic me. Perfect. So this gives me 2 turns to kill it. Which is quite nice. Actually, I better Nasty Plotting first. They're going to get Vantula. I should have Air Slashed. I should have gone with my gut. However, this does put me in a position where I can potentially pivot into the likes of Grimmsnarl and set up my screens, and then just start to double dance Agility and Nasty Plot with Moltres. We'll Reflect here. And we'll sack Greninja. Of course, I do run the risk of Thunder fully paralyzing my Moltres, which would suck. Oh, that's a cool tech. We'll Pump. I feel like Pump is a good play in this position. It kind of catches anything swapping in. Araquanid can probably swap in, but it doesn't particularly like taking too many Specs Pumps. Thunder can in fact paralyze me. I'm going to go for 1 Agility just to guarantee I outspeed the entire team. Nice, we didn't get fully powered. This is just what we want to see. And we take care of their Focus Sash user, which means I believe things like Nasty Plot, Air Slash, and Fiery Wrath should take care of the rest of the team. We can plop up once more here, I think. Oh wow, that KO'd. Okay, it's Life Orb. I was not expecting Life Orb. GG. Well played, my opponent. So we have another game against Mono Fighting. Here, I honestly do believe it's winnable because things like Moltres, Grimmsnarl, Mandibuzz and Muk are all pretty good. Honestly, Greninja is too. So despite the fact on paper this team looks really bad against fighting, I did carry a lot of dark types who can do a bit of work. Now, of course, it's not an easy matchup, but it's winnable. We're going to open up Greninja. They open up Breloom. In case they go straight for a Mach Punch, we value Greninja's extra sensory so much in the endgame. So I'm going to double into Mandibuzz here. And we are immune to Spore, so we can U-turn off and attempt to break their Sash, which is really good. I'm not 100% sure if they are Sash, but lead Breloom often is. They go into Komo-o. Now the question is, does my Greninja Oko? I feel like it doesn't. Komo-o, I'm assuming it's like Komo-o. Let's call it defensive for the sake of argument. Extrasensory does 90 to 106, and that is assuming it's max HP. I like those odds. We'll click Extrasensory here, as nothing particularly like swapping in on this. Kind of Gallade, but not necessarily. And I feel like Mandibuzz is always a good swap into something like Breloom. Nice. That's a pretty solid start for me. Naturally, Zapdos comes in, probably wanting to U-turn, so what we're going to do here is go into Mandibuzz, who should be able to eat any attack they throw my way. Now, unfortunately, this does lose me momentum, but their entire team looks physical in nature, which is good, because Mandibuzz can really do a lot of work here. They go to Beware. I'm going to try Toxic. I expect a sub to come out here, but we do outspeed, which is fantastic for me. Now the question is, do I not value anything in this position? I feel like Bisharp is my weakest link. We'll go Grim first just to try and get a Reflect up. As expected, they're going to go for Bulk Up, because they might be going for Drain Punch, and I don't want them to drain too much HP off me. That doesn't do too much at all. I'm fine. Now, unfortunately, Bisharp still probably dies, but I can go into Muk and potentially set up my curses. They are on something of a timer, thanks to Toxic. They can Drain Punch and Leftover Recovery all they want. If they bulk up, I'm simply going to curse myself. And this makes Muk even harder for everything else to take down, which is pretty good for me. And honestly, I'm in no rush to damage them. I have 5 turns of Reflect left. As long as they don't crit me, Drain Punch is doing very little damage, especially after I heal back my Black Sludge. And I get plenty of Curse. Of course, Breloom can easily come in now and click Spore, which kind of sucks for me. But we can Shadow Sneak Chip, as they actually end up forfeiting, so we'll definitely take that. And with that, we're going to pause and be right back. So we have a game here against Mono Dragon. This game looks pretty intimidating. I do definitely value Grimmsnarl, and I think Moltres is super good here, honestly, as well as Greninja. In fact, I'm going to open up a Greninja and try and get an Ice Beam off turn 1. This is Specs, so I'm pretty certain, yep, this dies. Assuming it's not specially defensive, which it generally isn't speaking. Nice. So getting a KO turn 1 is really good for me. As they're taking Duraludon. I honestly don't think Duraludon lives this, but it could be Focus Sash, so with that in mind, what I'm going to do here, I think, is go into my Bisharp. I'm going to go to Muk, actually. It's quite specially defensive and should live. Oh my god, that looks like Specs damage. That did so much. The crit really hurt there. I think we would have just about survived too. I'm certain that's Specs. So I'm going to try and get my rocks down here, just to break Sash on things like Garchomp potentially. I'm assuming one of the Latis is their Mega. Dracozolt comes in. Now the question is, do I value this too much? I'm not sure, because Boltbeak is really strong against my team. Actually, Boltbeak is really, really scary against my team. With Sucker Punch. We should live a Boltbeak because of that. Actually, that does not too much damage. And they're almost certainly Choice Locked. Choice Scarf, if I was to guess. They go into Duraludon. They probably go for a Draco here. I don't want to go into Grimmsnarl, in case they Flash Cannon. They go for Flamethrower. We'll go Mandibuzz. I think it's the safe middle ground. They do indeed go for Draco. And they crit again. It's like Scope Lens or something. That's crazy. This position does let me get up my screens with my Grimmsnarl though, which is pretty good. But I also kind of value just going into Greninja and just guaranteeing a KO here. Though that does kind of invite in Dracozolt. What? Why would you go into Dracozolt? That kind of feels like a throw to me. That's not the play I was expecting. So I think Ice Beam kills. This thing has like the special defense of Wet Paper. And unless one of your Latis is Scarfed or your Garchomp, this is a very difficult position for you. Nice. We get the crit back. Not sure if it mattered, but the 2 crits on Duraludon was quite nasty. As they reveal a Mega Latios, it just dies straight up, so even if this is Choice Scarf Garchomp, I don't think there's anything I can press to KO my entire team. Moltres is immune to Earthquake, Grimmsnarl is immune to its Dragon Ray stab, and Bisharp is generally quite defensive. GG. Well played on my opponent's part, and Greninja really pulled through for me there in the end. And with that, we're going to pause and be right back. So, I'm sure you're sick of me saying this right now, but we have another game against Mono Fighting. This is probably the 3rd or 4th this live, I'm not sure. I recorded this over the space of a week or so I do kind of forget a lot of what I fought. So with that, as usual, Greninja, Moltres, Grimmsnarl, Mandibuzz, Muk, all pretty good here. Unfortunately, Bisharp has not too much use. We're going to lead with my Greninja, as they lead Terrakion. I don't think this is Choice Scarf. I'm going to Extra Sensory here. I think this is Sash Lead. Would be my guess. And if we got the flinch, it would be even better for me. We don't. They go for close combat. We survive, thankfully. And we get another Extra Sensory off, which is pretty good for me. Gallade comes in. I think on Gallade we go Mandibuzz. They can Swords Dance in my face, which is quite scary. They go for an Ice Punch. Good play. But we're going to Toxic this. I mean, I'll take Toxic and Komodo too. I'm not going to make the same mistake as last time. I'm going to go into Grim here and attempt to block the Clangor's Soul Blaze. Always very satisfying when you do that. We're just going to try... I think I value a Light Screen up first. And then my Reflect. We're going to Spirit Break first. And the reason for that is I believe Komodo is the last special attacker left on their team. And I want to extend my Reflect turns as much as possible. So let's Reflect up here. Oh, Swords Dance is scary. We're going to T-Wave this. Thanks to T-Wave, we actually should outspeed with Greninja. And again here, Extra Sensory is really, really good. Nice. That T-Wave really came in handy. Of course, Gallade probably comes in here. However, I'm not too worried thanks to I have 5 turns of Reflect left, which I believe should be enough to do some work. I think I'm just going to go for Extra Sensory here and try to do some damage. They go for Ice Punch, which is really good for me. Now the question is, does Shadow Sneak kill? And the answer is yes, almost definitely. So we're going to double to Mandibuzz. Or swap into Mandibuzz, sorry, not double. Oh, they Ice Beam again, Ice Punch again. Good play. Well, Toxic. And their Ice Punch should do around 30 now. They are on a timer. So what we're going to do is roost a bit. If I can be on good HP for the likes of Breloom and Urshifu, it's really good for me. Especially because I do have Overcoat on Mandibuzz. Now I think it's within my best interest to sack, and I think Bisharp is always the sack here. It's too weak to the rest of their team. Part of me wants to go in Muk here, as they go in Urshifu. And we're going to try Poison, with Poison Jab. I don't know if close combat KOs me, and we might be able to actually KO back, thanks to the -1 defense. If they go for Surging Strikes, good play. That seems like Scarf damage, if I had to guess. We get the Poison too, which is pretty nice. Let's just run a quick calc here on Muk to check if that's Scarf or not. Urshifu. Rapid Strike, where are you? So Surging Strikes does 85 to 100, so that is probably Choice Scarf, or at least not banded damage. Does my Mandibuzz live this? Choice Scarf. 31 to 38 on Mandibuzz, so yeah, I should definitely live. And it should afford me the chance to just roost in their face. Yeah, that does nothing. That's so weak. And the good thing about Surgeon Strike's damage, it's almost guaranteed because it can't crit again, which means this is most likely the max damage it can do. So oftentimes the case, it might read like the attack does, I don't know, 50 to 58%. That's assuming it doesn't crit, which can be quite dangerous against some Pokemon. Thanks to Surging Strikes, that's always a crit, which means that is the max damage it can do. We're going to Toxic Breloom. I mean, honestly, Swords Dancing is a threat to me. Will you turn here? Every bit of chip here counts. Like, at all. A part of me wants to Water Shuriken here. It's not going to do too much damage. But they're going to Mach Punch, so we just value a small bit of chip here. I mean, 20%. Not ideal, but it's pretty good. And they should die to Life Orb. So we're going to go into Moltres, click Air Slash. And that is the game thanks to Life Orb. So with that, we're going to pause and be right back. So we have a game against Mono Bug. In this game, they have a lot of threats, Buzzwole especially. I think Volcarona and Scizor are pretty big threats too, as well as Araquanid depending on the set. I think here, I'm going to open up with Muk, assuming they want to go into their fortress. They go into Araquanid, so we're going to try and knock this off turn 1. If it is the leftover stockpile setup, we do value not allowing it to recover HP at all, as well as potentially spreading a poison. Oh, it's Focus Sash lead. That's interesting. I'm going to try and Curse once. I'm not sure this is a bad play, as Liquidation thankfully does not end up 2-hit KOing, and now Knockoff should grab the KO. Unfortunately, this does make me a little weaker to the likes of Scizor, though I do think Moltres is pretty good in this position. Their webs down doesn't affect me too badly. I can defog away with Mandibuzz, my Moltres doesn't care, and Bisharp actively gets the Defiance boost, which is really, really good for me here. The question is, what's my answer to Buzzwole? They're taking Volcarona. Now, it's within their best interest to KO me straight up, because otherwise they misclicked. That makes sense. I'm actually really surprised I didn't KO. As it turns out, that is Z Crystal, that is Y. Now, they're going to go for probably just a KO here with the likes of Z Inferno. I feel Muk has done his job. It did pretty well here, and taking care of Volcarona is a pretty big threat to me. We'll go in Grimmsnarl here, as they take in Buzzwole. We're just going to reflect in their face, and this could potentially be what lets me set up my Moltres. They go into Fortress. They end up disconnecting. What's my play on Fortress? I feel like Bisharp might be good. I know it resists my Iron Head. They go into Scizor. Interesting. I mean, we value the Defiant boost a lot. And I'm going to go for one Swords Dance in their face. They knock off. That's okay. Not the end of the world here. At +3, my Iron Head should start to do some damage. But what I'm going to do here is actually get up rocks against the Fortress. This kind of forces them to try and Rapid Spin them away. We're going to Sucker Punch here. Just to keep the rocks up. It's good for damaging things like Vivillon. The flinch on the Iron Head was pretty big. Yeah, that flinch was big. But I mean, I was flinching to try and get the Iron Head. I was Iron Headed to get the flinch, sorry, I meant. I mean, I feel the flinch was big, but part of that was their fault. To try getting webs on the Bisharp. In general, I don't think webs were amazing against my team. So they end up forfeiting. I mean, it's good to see their entire explanation that Sash Vivillon, I would have spinned, then used Sleep Powder, then killed. I mean, that's all fine and good, but I still had checks like Greninja, Moltres, and Grimmsnarl to the rest of the team, so the game wasn't necessarily over, and I do think getting webs against a team with Bisharp, especially a clearly screened team with Grimmsnarl, was not the best play. And with that, we're going to pause and be right back. So that is going to be it from Mono Dark for today. It's definitely a longer video than I intended. I did record this over the space of a week, so I kind of lost track of time and how many games I actually ended up recording, but I was really enjoying the team, so I was really looking forward to doing more. I think overall the team did pretty well. If I was to remove one of them, it would probably be Bisharp. However, I do think it would have played a more prominent role if we fought more Mono Fairy teams. So overall, I do think every member of the team put in good work, and I feel like the ladder was against me this week. I fought so many Mono Fighty and so many Mono Bug. Though overall, I think I did pretty well against them. I think things like Galarian Moltres and Protein Greninja can really put in good work against those matchups, which is pretty nice. So overall, if you did enjoy this video, definitely let me know down below in the comments, or leaving a like or sharing this with a friend really helps me grow so much as a channel. I really do appreciate it and does not go unnoticed. So with that, I will hopefully have another video up next week with a different type. I'm currently working on some, so look forward to that. I will catch you next time, and take care everyone. Have a great day.